Goodness. Wendy doesn't need to project that close.
Can
Take
I?
that microphone away from me.
Give it. I don't know if everybody's got their stickies.
No, mine wasn't there.
Oh, yours is there.
No, we name this number 1.
Yes. Oh, sorry, that's
Name
not.
this number 2.
That was number three.
Name this number 3.
Thank you.
That's you.
Extra number.
What was your name?
Guys, go.
Guy and Jason.
Guy, Jason, who else doesn't have?
Mine's not there.
No,
Molly has hers.
we'll have to, get some more. Okay. Here we go. And morning.
Yes, if everybody could please balance their name tags on their heads.
Okay, we'll have to fix that next time.
This is Jenna's. This is everything that was.
Okay. We will write up for the next meeting, sorry.
That's good.
Yeah, but the other ones are better. Oh, okay. Okay.
Are we good to go, Dana? We live streaming? Yeah? Do we have anybody joining us electronically?
Not yet.
Okay.
Bonnie had. I don't. Bonnie mentioned to me that she was going to join us by Zoom. About an hour ago, 2 hours ago. Bonnie Patterson.
All right, well, maybe she will join in a wee while, huh? Okay, in the meantime, I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 13th meeting for the Nanaimo Performing Arts Guild. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. I have 5:02. I'd like to first recognize that we're on the traditional territory of the Nanaimo First Nation. What an absolute gift it is to work, play, love, laugh here in this beautiful spot on the island. There's Bonnie, and Bonnie is now joining us via electronic. Everybody wave at Bonnie. Do you have sound, Bonnie? Oh, well, we can lip read.
I think. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
So good to see everybody.
Hi, Bonnie. Lovely to have
Hi.
you. So, let's get started. Yes? All right. First of all, before we move on agendas, are there any late items that people would like to add? I see Guy. I see Adrian. Just go ahead.
This works? Okay. I would like to introduce discussion.
There you go.
So, okay. I would like to introduce a discussion about a strategy in terms of a programming strategy. I would like to introduce some principles that we can all discuss and hopefully agree, and some practical steps in terms of programming going forward. Programming for the levy, yeah. And how to improve, increase, and facilitate programming.
All right. Thanks, Guy. Adrian, I recognize you.
I have two late agenda items. The first is website update. Actually, the first is resignation that I can speak to, and the second is website update. And just a note, if we can, using the mics, I know that we're a small group, but afterward, the live stream recording is provided for folks to listen to after. So for them, that's a big reason why the microphones are needed.
Important.
What was the second thing?
It was resignation and website update.
Recognition?
Resignation.
Oh, resignation.
All right. Anybody else have late items? I have a couple, may I add? So one is items on agenda, like how we add items to the agenda. as a group, if members have items for that. And the second one is frequency of meetings for communication purposes. So I've got those there. Last call for late items. Okay, so then I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the room, we need a motion to accept the amended agenda, or the agenda as amended. Is that correct? Yes, I think so. I see.
Move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Anybody to second? I see Adrian. All right, lovely. And seconded by our, all right. All right, do we need those in favor? Or we just go ahead? Those in favor, everybody do something enthusiastic. All right, there we go. That's good. Unanimously carried. All right, so next item on our agenda, which everybody's got, right, can see there, thanks for pointing it out, Sarah, is the adoption of minutes. Now, apparently this has to, I did ask to preview minutes because I wanted to try and be on top of my homework, but the minutes for our meetings have to be approved by managers, by a manager who is not on the committee, and Darcy, who would normally do that, is away. Is that correct? Adrian, do you want to just clarify my mumbling?
Almost exactly correct. So the Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture attends our meetings as a staff representative. So it has to be approved, my understanding, staff can correct me if wrong, but by the director who was present at the meeting. So we do have, I should have added introductions as a late item, I'm so sorry. But we do have Damon Johnston in the room who's acting for Darcy, but because he was not at that meeting, he would not be able to approve those minutes. So we do that, I'll leave it to you to forward what we will do with the minutes.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to approve two sets of minutes on our June 10th meeting. Yeah, two sets.
Through the chair, we can't do the next meeting's a special meeting. When we're
Correct. So,
That's why she said that.
yeah.
right. So we will do that then. Recognizing Arlene.
So who is recording today's minutes?
That
You are, okay.
Yeah.
their vital table flanking.
And one of you gentlemen will approve them, is that? Or will it be here at the next meeting?
Grab a mic.
Through the chair to the committee, Darcy will be back in her role by the time the meeting's minutes need to be reviewed, and she'll do it at that time.
I believe the question is, it's somebody who has to be present, manager who has to be present at the meeting, is what I heard.
If that is the case, and I believe Adrian is absolutely correct, then I will review the meeting minutes so that they get processed in a timely fashion for the committee.
Excellent. Bless your children and all their children after them. All right. So I don't think we have to do anything more on that. We can move on to the next item, which is, do we need to vote on, or we do need to vote on approving the next set of minutes at the June 10th meeting? Is that correct? Can I have a motion to do that, please?
So moved.
Moved by Arlene. Seconded, please.
Seconded.
Jason, Jude. So that is now carried till June 10th. Those in favor, I guess we've got to vote.
Yep.
Once again, very enthusiastic bunch. Carried, no opposed. Perfect. Now we can move on to the next, which is presentations. And we've got a presentation on our flooring and paint samples. Over to Adrian.
Thank you. Through the chair, at our last meeting, we had discussed that there is money in the budget this year for interior painting at the OV, as well as updating the flooring. At the staff table, we have Brent Burgoyne from our facilities team. He has brought some samples in. My apologies, Bonnie, because this won't be quite as interactive for you. But it's not it wasn't so much that we would make a decision today as, we as staff are conscious that, or staff, and I have to be, I have my guild hat on right now, but in terms of staff wanting the guild to be able to have input on preferred preferences in terms of color or look, given that the guild is now in place and would be able to advise on those types of things. So Brent has laid out some samples over on the other side of the room. This is more of sort of an interactive presentation where we can just take a look and share thoughts for a little while on what you've experienced in the space, what makes sense. This is for the actual flooring, where the seats are located, the main theater area coming into the OV Art Center, and then as well the interior painting.
Green room? The carpet in the green room as well?
That's right.
And nothing downstairs?
Sorry, I just want Bonnie to be able to hear you.
I beg your pardon.
Through the chair, I just have a couple questions. Is it the carpeting just on the first floor, not on the lower floor?
I believe it is the first floor for sure. And I believe that it is the first floor and the upper. The lower floor, I think, is separate, but I can get that answer for you through staff. Again, we won't be making the decision this evening. Yeah.
And then also through the chair, can you let me know which walls are being considered for painting?
So it's the interior of the OV Art Center.
Including the stage area?
Through the chair, this would be for like the interior of the walls, similar to this room, like the interior, like the public facing areas. Yeah.
So I'm hearing, just to clarify for everybody, not the stage wall, which is currently black. Is that correct? But all other of the other walls, where the current audience is that?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay, great. And was there a specific reason why you were asking about the floor downstairs, Holly?
I guess
Through the chair, I was just curious about kind of coordinated theme. What's available now might not be available later, things like that.
Okay.
And purpose.
I wondered whether it was anything to do with the dancing on that level, like with the mirrors and the resilience of the floor for dancers.
The floor is definitely not work safe,
Right.
approved for dance. Yeah.
downstairs.
Okay, thanks, noted. I recognize Arlene.
Through the chair, is that upstairs and downstairs painting the walls?
That's right. Oh, yes. Sorry, through the chair, that's right.
Okay. Do you have a list of priorities that need attending to the OV?
Through the chair, yes, we do. I might throw this question over to our acting deputy director. We do have a plan in place for the next 10 years, and we do prepare scope sheets each year for work that need to be done and ensure that there is money in the budget. So this is one, the flooring and the painting for this space that was put into that budget soon after the city and Spotlight Academy took on the interim operation of the OV. So that was put in at that time for 2025. Yeah.
Through the chair, thank you, Adrian. I don't have much more else that I can add, but what I can say is as Adrian said, there is an extensive City of Nanaimo capital planning process that we go through every year for all parks, recreation, and culture facilities, and that identifies facility work, facility improvements, upgrades, and things for consideration for council. And I think as part of us taking on the OV Art Center, certainly the OV Art Center would be added into that plan if it's not currently. So I think the work we have ahead of us and that the Guild may have ahead of you is to identify some priorities for upgrades to that space. And then we need to reflect that in the 10-year capital plan and beyond.
Through the chair, I think it's a really good idea to paint and recarpet and retile. But I'm just wondering if we've had any input from former users, what they have maybe complained about most. And I'm thinking about technical side where, maybe they need more lights or something that makes it more easier for them to rent.
So through the chair, yes. So when the previous society did terminate and the new interim agreement was formed, there was significant engagement that happened with groups that were using the theater space at that time, including members around this table, where various things were identified. And now that we have moved into the long-term management model for the OV, which includes this guild, we will be looking at those items as a guild and as the city and in collaboration with the city. Guy mentioned earlier wanting to produce a plan, and I don't think you were at the last meeting, but we had actually discussed that, and that's part of what having an additional meeting was for us to create a work plan and look at that moving forward. In terms of, doing the research and then going before council to, for council to approve the creation of the guild, while that work was happening, one of the immediate, short-term items that staff did identify was the need for a refresh of the space, and that was identified as well during those engagement sessions, that was something that, the space did need a little bit of a look in that area and a refresh in that area.
Sorry, I see Holly, and then Jason, I will come to you. I do see you.
Through the chair, I'm just kind of curious about project management in terms of taking recommendations for making that space usable and multi-purpose and accessible for all groups for all different kinds of reasons, and whether or not, I don't know if this is the right time and place for this, but whether or not painting and flooring is the right decision to be making at the moment in case there's the possibility of taking down a wall or two?
Through the chair, so painting and flooring is in the budget for 2025, so we can certainly not do it, but it is in the budget for 2025. For 2026, we've actually just gone through our scope sheet project, and within 2026, there has been room placed in our capital planning for a more extensive look at the OV, anticipating that the Guild would want to do this sort of thing, starting with an accessibility audit and then looking at what that audit would reveal, and having the Guild involved through that process and being able to look at the results of that audit.
Jason?
Hi, through the chair, as part of this, just a question about this refresh we're discussing. Does that include non-technical lighting of hallways and of the user areas? Like, could we get matching light bulb temperatures? And, yeah.
So I through the chair, I think those are all really valuable discussion points for the OV Arts Center and for the Guild. So this agenda item is specific to the planned flooring and painting that will be happening this year at the OV. And the opportunity that's here through this agenda item is for the Guild to have a look at some of the samples that, you know, would typically be reviewed for a city space, and to see if there are preferences, if there are things that the Guild would not recommend. It was, you know, a way to, staff has not looked at this up to this point because of wanting to be able to bring this to this table.
Arlene?
Through the chair, are there many bookings like forthcoming, do you know, ahead, within the next like 6 months or something?
Through the chair, yes, there are regular bookings with the OV. I do not have the allocation sheets with me today. That is certainly something that we can begin to bring to Guild meetings for Guild members to review. But yes, the OV is booked regularly.
Well, I was wondering if we could maybe from those people, those bookings, and maybe from the recent last year, or maybe even 2 years, do a survey, send out a survey to the users and see if they, I don't mean an extensive one, but just, you know, a short 25 questions maybe survey about the situation, what they would see for improvement, what they would like to see for improvement.
Question, should we choose our samples today? Should it all be solved? When would the actual carpeting and the painting take place? Is there a schedule for that in the budget? Like when does that actually happen?
Through the chair, thank you for your question. There's been no timeline, I don't think, set to have this work done. We'd want to work with the identified contractor once we've selected the product that we'd like to install and the painting to be done. We'd work with the contractor to establish a timeline to have that work done. So it's undetermined at this time, but we'd want to schedule in and around any rentals that we have or that the Guild has, just to avoid any or minimize the disruption to the use of the facility. So to be determined in terms of the timeline on that.
I see Guy.
So if I may, through the chair, I'm maybe sensing a sort of maybe conflicting sort of messaging here in the sense that the Guild was created to create prioritization of plan items, but then on the other hand, it seems like it's been already sort of in the pipeline or decided to go ahead with the carpeting and flooring, and not to say that I objected, but maybe we can see the broader context, because flooring, for example, is tied to our next item here, the seating. So is it decided that we're going ahead with those two items, and from there on prioritization will happen through the Guild, or is it still negotiable?
So through the chair, when the city and when the previous society terminated in early 2023, at that time, coming into the interim operating agreement and the engagement that followed, one of the things we were able to identify was that user groups had indicated that the place needed to be repainted in the interior and that the flooring was getting worn. So because the process to identify those priorities and put them into the budget occurs each spring, we've just completed it now for 2026. The thought from the city was to get that into that cycle so that the funding would be available to complete that work. With the Guild, and it was placed in for 2025. With the Guild just forming in the beginning of 2025, my knowledge is that rather than painting right as the guild was starting up, to bring those samples and bring that topic to the table for the guild to discuss. When city facilities are typically painted, it is generally our facilities team, sometimes with input from the city management team, and the samples are reviewed, a decision is made, and the space is painted. Given the guild's work with the OV and for the OV and for user groups of the OV, we felt that it would be relevant to bring it to this table.
So, asking a question that I think everybody's thinking as well, hinted at, we wouldn't lose, we could reallocate the funding, we wouldn't lose it, is there a danger of that? You mentioned the 2026 spring planning has just concluded. Where does that leave the guild?
I will ask Mr. Johnson for comment.
Great, thanks, Ms. Breen, and through the chair. So to be mindful, the projects that have been approved for this year have been endorsed and approved by council. And so the deferral is potential as an opportunity, but it would be then in consideration with all other city projects as to whether or not the deferral is approved and that work is happening. So I think it's important for the Guild's consideration to really think through whether or not these two projects are important enough to push through for 2025 as they have been approved by council.
Sorry.
So, yeah, Bonnie, jump in.
Sorry, I know I haven't been at a meeting yet, and there wasn't a lot in the minutes that I saw. My curiosity is actually about the very nature of the guild. Do we have nonprofit status, for instance? I'm just curious as to whether everything is financially on the shoulders of the city, or if there is also the opportunity to apply for grants through various arts bodies in order to, get funding for the things that we need that are specifically for the theater, that are maybe not things that the city would typically know about.
Consider.
That's my question to the chair.
Thanks. Adrian, I'll let you respond, although we covered a lot of that in the last meeting, but I'll let you update.
Absolutely, thank you. Through the chair, the Guild does not currently have not-for-profit status. The City of Nanaimo owns the building, and the building is the city's facilities team through Parks, Recreation, and Culture manages the upkeep of the building, and the city's allocations team allocates the facility with working closely with the site liaison, who many of us met today at the tour of the OV prior to this meeting. So financially, there is a plan in place for the OV as for all of the city facilities. In terms of applying for grants, I know that our team will be doing some looking into on the culture side, things that we could apply to. You're right that there are some limitations there, and as we get up and running, we will see, what our opportunities are. I would like to move a motion that we defer the review of the paint and flooring samples until our July meeting.
Is there discussion on that?
So you need a second first.
Oh, yeah, who'd like to second?
nobody, so.
I see Bill.
Yeah, through the chair, I was just a thought that since it had been factored in with the various samples that are right there in front of us, if we could perhaps take a few minutes to have a look at them, and rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater, and then we're that much further along. Thank you.
I'll withdraw my motion. I really didn't want people to feel that they had to review the samples tonight, but if people would like to, that's great.
From Arlene.
Yes, through the chair. I certainly didn't want to discourage getting ahead, moving ahead with this painting of the walls and the carpeting. I think that the city has, I certainly trust they have done their best and kept in mind what is really necessary and what the users would really appreciate. And I think we must go ahead with it because it's been approved by the council. Heaven forbid that. But all I'm discussing is that in the future, maybe we can look at more input from the user groups, and that we can look at what might be considered a list of priorities, and that the guild can have more say, because I don't intend to be a rubber stamp for everything, but I certainly think that we should go ahead with what you people have done, because it's wonderful. And if the city has it in their budget, why would we stop it?
Okay, so rounding on this now, Bonnie, just to follow up on your grant question, I don't know if you noticed that we have a planning meeting on June the 2nd to really look at opportunities for funding as well. But what I am hearing from the group now is that rather than look a gift horse in the mouth and take for granted the lightning speed with which councils and committees work, we should look at samples, which are beautifully laid out for us. So is everybody in favor of doing that right now? Maybe
Yes.
hearing a little bit about it.
Yes.
All right, we are going to do that.
So, explain.
Bonnie, we'll try and give you as much feedback as possible, hon.
Please, just to say, for me, the most important thing is accessibility as someone who is currently in a wheelchair. So, obviously I like things to look good, but since I can't see or touch, if somebody there could let me know about tactilely and in terms of that.
We'll do our level best.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what I've got here is it's a carpet tile. It's a low pile carpet, commercial grade tile. It's all would be fine for wheelchairs, as well as the vinyl flooring that would be for kitchens or bathrooms if we're going that far. And then some recommended paint samples here, as well as the full paint swatches that you can go through for anything you'd like.
So where do they go? Well, the carpet goes on the floor. And
Yeah, and then any of this would be for bathrooms or kitchens if we're going that far with our flooring.
And this would be
Paint for
one
all the
color
walls.
For all the walls?
Yeah. It's still in the air, I believe, for
I think one of the things,
walls.
can I say something? Or do I have to-
Brent, maybe just repeat the question when it's asked, and then Bonnie will.
Where is the camera? Where is the camera for Bonnie? Can we hold them up to the camera?
There is the main camera, I believe, is there. I do not have enough confidence in clicking a button here that ruin the whole meeting. So if you would like to hold them up there, that's probably our best bet today.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we take a picture and send them to her?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But it's all very similar to what you're standing on right now as well.
So Bonnie, we're going to take a picture and send it to you, love, of the paint colors anyway.
Link of
No,
Casa.
I just messaging you.
Can we talk amongst us or do we have to talk on? Yeah, okay.
You're asking the wrong person. I think if there's a question that Bonnie needs to hear, then that's important that we repeat. Why don't we move back to the big table and take the samples there, and then we can pass them up and down? How do people feel about that? Yeah, because they're swatches and they're on cardboard, they can move, and then we can
And
ask
I
our
can
questions.
also, I can see them on that big table too.
Okay, we're moving.
Yeah, it's just the,
Don't we need?
Okay, so folks, you might need to move your microphones out a bit to the side so we can put swatches and carpet and stuff in the middle. So one thing that I can just comment on as we're getting things in place, as far as performance art goes, not including the stage, is the darker the auditorium walls are, the better. So you wouldn't want anything that reflects light too vibrantly in my putting on my director and stage manager hats, because that really affects lighting for shows. If others would like to weigh in their experiences with that, I see Bonnie and I see Bill. Go ahead, Bonnie.
I agree with you. It's sort of a black box theater and should remain as such because of the very thing that you suggested. If it's light, it will reflect off and it will actually affect the lighting on the stage too if the room around it is painted too light of a color. I think the only place that it would be appropriate to paint a lighter color would be in the entrance or in the green rooms.
Sure. And Holly, you had a comment? Same?
Through the chair, I really appreciate that feedback. I think it's really critical, and even to be honest, the beams over the stage need to be painted black.
Yeah.
The walls need to be dark, at least as far back as any curtain drawn between front of house and audience. It just has to be dark. Black is typical for more of a black box setting, and I wonder about like color theme and making it beautiful, creating a kind of a way that from up to down we can integrate what's happening, and through shades, if we want to shade lighter into the front of house. Yeah, even the upstairs balcony needs to be dark because that is completely exposed to the audience and lighting.
So I will just make a note. I imagine that would have to be part of any motion as well, based on our selections, that any surfaces that reflect light be actually black as standard for performance arts. So I'll make a note at this stage, but let's carry on. Perhaps looking at the let's go with flooring first. Let's look at carpeting, which is perhaps easiest. As you say, are we allowed more than one choice, or is this a general? Is this all the same priced carpeting tiles?
thing called a carpet. It's the same price. Just some is in stock and some will have to be ordered, depending on your choice color.
Can you tell us which ones are in
It's the one right in front of Sam.
This one's in stock,
That one?
and this one here.
This one here?
Yeah, is 4 weeks out from purchase
Okay.
date.
Right. Oh, I see, so that's in stock. Well, depends on the contractor, doesn't it, when they can do it? I mean,
Sir,
if we get what's in stock, they can do it faster. Right? Oh, sorry. through the chair.
Eileen, Bonnie would have missed the first part of those questions.
Oh,
Actually, no, I heard her.
Oh, okay, all right, we're good, we're good.
close
All
enough.
right,
Sorry, Bonnie.
so a response, please, for that. Thank you so much.
Through the chair, and thank you for your question. Yes, it would somewhat depend on the contractor's availability. And part of that consideration would be what else are they working on and where can they fit this project into their timeline.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Holly.
Through the chair, thank you. Just curious, like my tendency is to say like no carpet, although I'm aware that it can help absorb sound in a theater setting. And I'm just kind of curious where the plan is for the vinyl. Or are we choosing one or the other? Do we have an option of choosing one or the other? Or are we choosing both?
I think it's for bathrooms and concession areas.
So, sorry, can I just affirm that answer? So,
Yeah, so through the chair, the samples have been brought with consideration given to the bathroom areas, the concession area, and the main area of flooring. Like, as we would be replacing those things, the city would when doing the interior refresh. So just wanting to provide a range of options. And again, you know, it is early days. It's not November, you know, so when we talked about this last week, about bringing these forward, it wasn't with, or not last week, last month, it wasn't with the intention that a decision had to be made this evening. It was really to get the guild thinking about it and asking these exact type of questions. Because again, this is exactly the type of expertise that I think council was looking for in choosing this committee.
okay, so does anybody else have anything for discussion? Oh, yeah, Bonnie. Thank
Sorry,
you, Daniel.
yeah, I just wanted to add through the chair that yes, it is very important because this is a building in which we create art, that it does have that kind of feel, that it doesn't feel like a conference room or a you know, like the room you're sitting in, that it does feel as if you're walking into a creative space. And as long as you have samples, I think that can do that. And also like continuity, as well as Holly was saying. I think Holly, you said that about the flow of it is important. And keeping with the branding too, I like the logo of the OV, and it would be interesting to incorporate the colors that you're using on the outside of the building moving inside as well. Those are my opinions. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're not restricted to the paints, the colors that are out here. We've got all those paint swatches there. What I heard is we can be as vibrant in a dark color as possible as well. We could have, for example, a dark maroon with the carpet that can fade into a pink potentially as we go into the entranceway. That kind of creativity is perhaps what we're moving in a direction of. But I'm not sure if we can choose those directly today. Go ahead, yeah.
I'm not sure. The carpet is for the floor. Is this for the walls or the flooring in the bathroom? Is like this tile against the walls up a certain level or something?
Through the chair, I'm looking over at staff, and he's indicating this is for the floor. This is for the floors of the washroom.
Into the washroom.
That's correct.
Okay, or the kitchen, or this would be the washrooms and the kitchen area?
Yes. Yep.
right?
Best of families, hasn't it?
Through the chair.
This is hard to choose as a couple. Looking at it as a committee seems a mammoth task.
But I,
Any thoughts on that?
yeah, thank you, Wendy. Through the chair. If you go into any theater, it's black. Everything is black. And I know this is a creative space, but I think part of the creativity is, if anybody wants to, how can they adorn black walls or whatever. I think for most of the performance spaces, it should be black and it should be dark. So, you know, I would go with that. And one of these, or even darker if we could get, and certainly,
Yeah, there's more on the other side.
oh, okay.
I think one of the
Okay, anybody want to add to that discussion? Oh, look at the pretty
This is
picture.
boring, yeah.
Go ahead. And I do recognize you. I see you, Bonnie. I'm just going to go to Holly.
Through the chair. I wonder, the reason that I question carpet is because of usability of that space for alternative productions that require no carpeting, that, you know, that a vinyl floor would be preferable. And not, I mean, there are a lot of allergies too. And also, I am really kind of torn between the sound absorption and the floor, the type of flooring. But yeah, to move those audience seats.
I see you, Sarah. I'm just going to, Bonnie had hand up just momentarily. Go ahead.
I was actually just going to completely agree with Holly. I think it was part of our mandate that we're not just looking at this space in terms of a theater, but as a multi-use space for various forms of art. So it makes sense for the theater section of the theater to be painted black, as dark as possible. And I kind of agree with I actually really agree with Holly about the floor, because that stage is not very big, and it does give us a lot. It gives different groups more options if there's not carpet where the seats are, where we can move the seating. Like, for instance, as they did at the Port when they put chairs all around the stage and used the center of the stage, just so the place can be, I don't know, just kind of used in as many different ways as possible, is what my vote would be for. And I'm wondering, and I am the daughter of a lifelong carpet salesman. And my husband laid floor for 5 years. So I do know that there are certain kinds of floor that would both be good for multi-use and are also good for muffling sound. And Holly, I have a feeling it's the kind of floor that you want and are looking at.
So, thanks, Bonnie. Sarah?
Another thing about the flooring, the carpet versus vinyl, is keeping it clean. It's a lot easier to maintain a hard floor. We all have seen the carpet in there. There's quite a few marks and stains. So I think considering that as part of the vinyl versus carpet, because I agree the carpet is great for the sound dampening, and it's like footsteps are a lot softer, but the vinyl would be a lot easier to maintain and keep clean, in my opinion.
Thank you. So I am hearing a move away from carpet. Is there a specific vinyl, perhaps I can ask, that is softer, so somewhere in the middle, that between carpet and hard vinyl tiles that would also help with sound. Are we aware? Not aware. Okay, go for it.
Through the chair, I'm definitely not an expert on this, and maybe Bonnie does know more. But as far as I would know, you would have to have an underlay underneath the harder surface. So there's sound dampening underlays that would go beneath. And that is what I think if you go with a hard floor, you need some sort of sound dampening, whether that's on the walls or it's underneath the hard floor. So one thing I would consider, though I'm not part of the guild, but is what that would mean cost-wise. And that I genuinely have no idea about in terms of whether that doubles the cost or what.
Guy?
Quick question. What sort of events do you guys think it will preclude having a carpet? What kind of use cases would that exclude?
Dance, barefoot, to choose to dance on concrete.
Bonnie, can you tap your microphone? Thanks.
Sorry.
Not Bonnie, Holly.
Dance for sure.
And also theater. If you wanted to use the main space where the seats are and put the seating in the round in order to use the whole space, that theater has been used that way. You also would not want to be acting on carpet or doing musical theater on carpet or any of that sort of thing.
Arlene?
You can lay harder surfaces on top of the carpet if you need it for, like you can get dance floors, or you can just have thin plywood down on the floor for theater, live theater, if you wanted,
Go ahead, Holly.
It's not recommended to put a dance floor on top of carpet, but I do really like the idea of sound dampening underlayment. And there's also like installed dance floors. They're kind of like what they use on military ships that are pretty indestructible. They have them at the dance center in Vancouver, and they can have. You can either spring it. You can spring it. I mean, then it becomes a more expensive, but. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm hearing a couple of things. One, paint color is, as far as walls for the main space, is generally dark, performance space. Flooring, there's a preference for an underlay, a professional underlay, and a surface that is both accessible and easily cleaned, as opposed to carpeting. Am I hearing that correctly? Generally, is there any more discussion? Sorry, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, through the chair, just to make note that given that the city has approved a budget of X based on obviously some of the information and some of the potential floor coverings and wall coverings that we have in front of us, if the guild were to move towards suggesting, a different type of flooring, I suppose somebody would have to consider seeing what that budget would, as somebody had said, sort of hypothetically, double the cost, but at least that would have to be factored into our decision-making to change that.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I'm guessing that we're going a little bit blind because we don't know how much money we've been allocated and whether our suggestions fit in, and we don't want to lose the opportunity to refresh, which we've already decided is we don't want to look that gift horse in the mouth, but it's very hard to know what to suggest 100% without knowing what we can spend. Is that what you were saying? Right. Adrian, can you address that at all, or can we move towards a motion with that in mind?
Yeah, so my, through the chair, I am trying to remember, and with a little bit of finagling, I can look it up. The amounts were provided in the previous meeting that we had available. However, given the conversation today, I'm thinking that what might be useful is a motion for staff to take back the preferences and recommendations from the Guild, and to have culture staff and facility staff work together to look at some options and the costing of those options, and come back with a report to the Guild.
Right, with a strong recommendation that we don't want to lose the opportunity, but it is more a move towards our overall goals of increasing accessibility and multi-use of the space. Arlene?
Through the chair, my last comment, I just feel that we should keep in mind our audience, because we are so dependent on the audiences, and what, if I think most audiences like the carpeting. I don't know how they would feel about vinyl. Sitting in the chairs, it could be even noisy just sitting in the chairs, rubbing their feet over the vinyl or something. But I think we must keep in mind the audience and just give them some thought what they might prefer. Thank you.
Holly.
Through the chair, I just Googled whether theaters usually have carpet, and it does say, yes, it's common for art theaters to have carpeting in the auditorium, especially in the seating areas, to help with sound absorption and reduce noise reverberation. And then I also Googled the price of underlayment, and it just depends on the quality that you purchase. So it's relative. And we have a resource in town who has built 2 theaters in the Shadbolt Center for the Arts. He was the technical director there, and would probably be very generously willing to share his opinion if that's of use, if we'd like to bring him in for a quick consultation. Like, he's John Carter, he's a lighting designer and a technical director of the Shadbolt Center, and helped build their theaters.
Yeah, it seems like an excellent idea. Go ahead, Adrienne.
I'd like to move a motion that staff take the recommendations of the Guild back for discussion and return to a future meeting with a report including options.
Sorry, Adrian, back to council?
No, back to the Guild, sorry.
No, at the beginning, that staff take the recommendations.
That staff take the recommendations of the Guild back to staff.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll word that differently then. That staff return to a future meeting with a report based on the recommendations of the Guild, and that the report include options for consideration.
I see Bonnie's hand. Sorry, do we need to second that first? Oh, we do. Does anybody want to second that?
I second that.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Discussion.
Sorry, I was just thinking and maybe wanted to add this. I think it's important to have carpet in the entrance when you come in, and also going down the stairs, and even possibly all the way around the concession. But there could also be like the vinyl. Like, I'm just thinking, I have vinyl laminate in my kitchen, which is very soft, which makes no sound, which would be appropriate for the purposes if we wanted to use that space, as Holly said, for dance. Say that there's a band playing a concert and they don't want to have any seating. They want people to be in the audience dancing. But there could also be a carpet that we roll out and put the seating over top. Because I'm assuming we're going with seating that can be moved around. Right, Wendy? I think I read that in the.
That's the next item, believe it or
Oh,
not.
it is. Sorry,
So
my
we went,
bad.
no,
Okay.
no, absolutely no
I'm
bad.
getting-
It's all part of the discussion.
Okay.
So, do we need an amendment to that motion as far as bringing in an expert for creating performance space, or are we able to move ahead? Thoughts?
Could we have the motion read again?
Sure.
You're going to give me the end of the motion. I know that staff
Okay.
return to the future meeting with report based on recommendations of the guild, and that the guild,
And that the report include options for the guild's consideration.
hold on. Report include options for the guild.
Yeah, that's fine. And the reasoning behind that is, when staff goes back and looks at options and produces a report, that they would do that research and bring it back to this table. Yeah.
Okay, that answers. Go ahead, Holly. And so do you have anything else there?
Yeah, just one more thing through the chair, and I really appreciate staff for that. Thank you so much. And also, just to, I feel like we're kind of in that place between whether it's a multi-use facility or whether it's a theater.
That's that. Go ahead, Guy.
Sorry, I feel like maybe there's different dimensions here. I think it's most, if not all, we agree that it's a multi-use space. I think it's one of the principles many people mentioned. I don't think carpet or not is like a decision that would make it a non-multi-use space. I really don't see like the carpet being like a big issue in the multi-use vision. Like I think it's two different things on the different scales.
Would you like to put that in an amendment to the motion? Or does that automatically go in, Adrian, with a recommendation from the Guild? Do we keep the motion as is?
Yeah, let's keep the motion and move ahead. Move along.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, seconded by Bill. Those in favor? Okay, so carried unanimously and no opposed? All right. Whew, it's exhausting, this chair job. All right. So, no objections. Moving ahead. Next on our agenda, we would have reports, but there are no reports. So we move on to other business, the first of which is looking at seating options. Most specifically, the offer of donated seating by Echo Players Theatre. And I'm going to introduce this, although I haven't had any direct correspondence with Echo Players. But now we've all been in the theatre. We've seen the current seats that are there. There can be discussion openly now about those seats, how easily they move around, the state of them, their pros, their cons, what would be good to try and modify with that. As I say, those of us who use the space frequently do know the difficulty in moving those current blocks of chairs. I think we've heard quite extensively that multi-use is important, flexibility is in use, and therefore mobility of chairs is useful as well as, of course, having the space for general accessibility uses for people coming into the space who have accessibility needs, and how easily those move around. The Echo chairs are theatre chairs, in my recollection. They are being replaced. So once again, it would be bringing in second-hand chairs into the refreshed space. I cannot speak to the quality of all of the chairs. I've only sat my bottom in a few of them. biggest plus towards the chairs from Echo is that they are free. So the Guild would be paying potentially for the cost of transport alone, and then fixing them in whatever way we could in the theatre. If the space was not refreshed before we got the chairs, then it would be a matter of how would we affix them? What would that mean as we pulled up the floor and put in new flooring? All of these things need to be considered by the Guild. Have I left anything out? Adrian, with that, seeing Jason, yeah?
Just a question about the chairs from Echo. Are they singular or are they in banks of?
To my recollection, they are all singular. They are not in banks. Much like the current VIU chairs in the OV, which were single chairs and then affixed to planks. The option would be, do we then purchase planks and fix the chairs so that they can be moved around into any formation? And that adds some cost, obviously, that would have to, I presume, be approved through council. Or do we look at using a different form of seating that then has to go through council for approval of budget? Yeah, Bonnie, I see you, thank you. Go for.
To the chair, number one thing is comfort. Obviously, those chairs, anybody who has sat through a show at the OV knows those chairs are incredibly uncomfortable. Also, they are very, very noisy. People become afraid to move at all because anytime they do, they squeak and make terrible noises. They're really heavy. They are not accessible and really problematic. That would have been my number, I think, above all else in terms of thinking about the audience. So that's good to hear that the Echo chairs are, but in terms of comfort and not making noise, I think for theater chairs and being able to be moved around, those are I think the three most important things. Other than, of course, the price, like free is good.
Bill?
Yeah, through the chair, just to reiterate what I believe was mentioned at the last meeting, the chairs, I think it's really important that there's some way of someone involved in the Guild, or I don't know if everyone, that has to see them just before any, I mean, I can't imagine any decision being taken regarding the logistics of, yes, let's accept those chairs without first having a look, well, which ones do we have access to, and having a look and feeling them, and just to get a little more data and information behind the chairs that are so kindly being offered to us before any sort of movement forward is taken on that. Thank you.
Arlene?
Through the chair. This week, there is a drama festival on at Echo Players, and every night there's a show. Tomorrow night, Nanaimo Theatre Group will be doing their show. If you want to try out the chairs, go up to the drama festival and sit in one of them and have a look. Unless Wendy has a motion, I don't see any further discussion. We need to see, we don't make negative motions, do we? We can't say we don't want the chairs. We move, we don't have the chairs, or don't accept it. I don't think you need to make a negative motion. So I suggest that we just leave that point of discussion and go on to B. How about the security, unless there is more discussion, but nobody seems to want the chairs.
There is a time limit as to when we could accept the chairs, however, I believe, in that Echo have new chairs coming in, they want to pull the old chairs out and that either go somewhere to someone or they will be disposed of. I don't know exactly what the time is, but I believe there is a time crunch that we're aware of. So delaying for another month, another 2 months is, we might actually make our decision just in delays because they need to do something with the chairs. Adrienne?
Thank you, through the chair. I was just going to add from our last meeting, I believe the request from ECHO was that the decision be made as soon as possible, and I believe that the timeline was August, that they would be moving the, is that correct? Yeah, staff confirmed that that's correct.
So we don't need to make a decision before July, correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
We may lose out on the opportunity.
Well, if we delay, we have 1 month left. We have our June meeting, and then we have to make a call as a guild in the next couple of meetings. I see you, Holly.
Through the chair, thank you. Is it a lateral shift or is it an upgrade? Like, is it worth the time and energy? We don't know. So I don't know if we can make that decision. I wouldn't want to put people to the task of going and getting them and bring them up and getting rid of ours and putting those in and then having them be like big white plastic football chairs or stadium chairs or I've never been there, so I'll try to go.
At least a picture would have been helpful for the discussion, I believe, at least.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, logically, ECHO is replacing their chairs. That's the bottom line. So I wouldn't say that they're in wonderful condition. If there has been consideration at the expense of a club to replace chairs, but that is complete hearsay. And they may be a step up on the OV chairs, but I can't guarantee that they don't squeak, all of them, or anything like that. So, do we have a motion? Thanks, Adrienne. Save us.
Sorry, through the chair, staff has just advised me that we do have a staff member who will be up at Echo Theaters and could take photos for the guild.
Yeah, just so you know, most of the North Island Zone Festival is sold out mercifully, but if you wouldn't mind sitting in every single chair.
Exactly. I was just gonna say. To see which one squeaks.
Putting a sticker on those we want and those we don't.
What color are they?
Red.
Oh, they're red.
They are red. They also, if you want to look at the theatre, ECHO's website does show interiors of the theatre itself. So you would get an idea of what they look like at present inside the theatre. There'll be photos. Okay, so advice from staff, what do we do with a motion with this? Do we postpone until the next meeting with this item? And who is going to be our researcher?
Through to staff, is there a preferred meeting in June that we would defer to?
Only June 10th.
June 10th.
June
10th.
Yeah, June the 2nd is the planning meeting, a special meeting, so I think that's just for planning meetings.
It would be good for one of us to have, and whether this is possible through the guild, to have one of the guild members contact ECHO and speak directly about the chairs and which ones, why they're getting rid of them, is there a problem? Ask for some transparency there. I feel that they would be honest with that. There you go. There's an image of, for those who don't know the Village Theatre. Most of us have been in it.
Oh, yeah.
They know the chairs up there.
You can Google it.
And then as well, discussion would take place about how we would affix them in the theatre, whether once again they go on pieces of plywood or what our city facilities would suggest that we do with them to fit in with our refit.
Echo currently just has them like
Individually bolted to the floor,
to the floors.
through the carpet.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Is there a motion?
Not yet.
No.
So,
You were mentioning considering a motion of someone from the guild to discuss the state of the chairs and the reason with ECHO. Did you want to put that as a motion?
yeah, and to postpone the further discussion until the June 10th meeting. So,
And then also for the idea for our staff member potentially to take some photos for the guild. So that should be.
do we have a video and photo? Do we have a volunteer to liaise with ECHO specifically about the chairs?
I'll volunteer. Oops. I'll volunteer.
Thanks, Bill. So, then I will make a motion that discussion of the chairs be postponed until the June 10th meeting, during which time Bill Miner, no L, will liaise with ECHO players, re the condition of the chairs for refit purposes.
And through the chair, if we'd just take another 60 seconds to have some of the guild members offer some suggestions as to what they would like to be discussed with the chairs, just so I don't miss anything that someone was interested in, whether it be comfort or anything else, so I can just write that down and make sure I address that with whoever I speak with. Thank you.
Can I hold that motion, or do I need to withdraw it and put it again?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so a quick discussion about that. It sounds like Bill would like some input.
Just so I don't miss anything.
Yeah, so condition of so whether they squeak, that's an issue. Comfort. I heard why they're getting rid of, why they decided to refit as a general question.
How secure them to, whether we secure them or they're self-standing safety?
Yeah, so safety, would they'd have to be put on planks, I presume.
Double check the deadline.
Deadline?
What's that, sir?
Deadline.
Double check the deadline.
I see. Bonnie, thank you, Dana.
Also, if they are accessible, like if they can be moved, so we don't have disabled folks in wheelchairs that have to sit in the aisles, that they can have space in between them with wheelchair seating like they do in professional theaters. It's a big deal. I'm newly in a wheelchair, and it was very uncomfortable sitting in the aisle watching a show, personally. So I think that's something to consider.
I have it down. I've written all those down. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bill.
I'm just noting a question from the staff table.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank
Staff
you.
table.
Through the chair, for the guild's consideration, I would recommend just doing some research on whether or not parts are available for these chairs. I've had some experience in managing arena facilities and large areas of chairs, and just something to consider for the guild to think about. And then just another thing, which is very straightforward, but again, for consideration, is just the overall condition of the chairs, to keep those things in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, both great suggestions, thanks.
Yeah, take down, put up is all, and multi-use space is the other consideration. Is there anything else need to be discussed on this item? Okay, those in favor of the motion? Is there anybody opposed? Motion be carried. Yay! All right, next we have security. Fencing security measures, and that's presented by Adrian.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll actually introduce Damon Johnson again. Damon was going to speak to this.
Lovely.
Thank you, Ms. Breen. And through the chair, pleased to provide an update to the Guild for information regarding a security and fencing project that has been planned for the OV Arts Center. A little bit of background on this. This project is really being informed through the ongoing challenges and experiences that we have learned about over the last number of years in operating the facility, and through feedback, of course, that we have received through user groups and from the previous operator. So we do have an update regarding the fence that will be installed, and the area we're referring to is right in the front that we saw on our tour today, where the blue security fencing is currently located. But the project will also include and encapsulate the front entrance of the facility as well. So right now our facilities team is working with our planning department. We have learned through this project that there is a consideration for a variance because the design of the fencing layout somewhat has to consider and factor in the sidewalk in front of the facility. So we're just working through that process now. But I am pleased to say that funding has been secured to help support this project. And a rough timeline to install the new fence is June, so within the next 6 weeks. And the design will be somewhat similar to the wrought iron fence that is adjacent sort of to the next door of the OV Arts Center. So I think kind of really ties in quite nicely with the overall aesthetic of the building, but certainly provides a high quality, secure area, and a definite improvement from what's currently there now. So happy to take any questions from any member of the Guild. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Hi, see you, Bonnie.
Hi. Yeah, hi. So I used to have my theater school right next door to the OV where they built that fence. And it was quite good when they put it up. Particularly, I was just wondering if you have plans to put an awning or overhang over the front entrance, in which then the fence it goes around, or is it just going to be like a fence around the door? Because we had an overhang.
Through the chair, I don't believe the current project includes adding an overhang over the front door at this time. Certainly something staff can take back for further consideration if that's of interest to the Guild. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Arlene?
There is an overhang over the front door right now. I don't know if you're wanting to extend that, but I'm wondering how this fencing will include the entranceway.
Through the chair, as Mr. Johnson said, a variance would be required. So if you can picture where we were standing earlier, the blue fencing off to the side extends almost up to, but not quite up to where the entryway is. And then adjacent, right on the other side, is a fence that belongs to another property owner. So in order for the fencing to include, it just has to come out a little bit, not impeding the sidewalk, but it had to come out enough that a variance was required. So this is another one of those. This is a project that has been in the discussion stage for many months, and really is taking that into consideration so that when performances are happening or rentals are happening, that space can be open, but that it can be closed and secured if the theater isn't in use.
So is it like a gated entrance?
That's right, yeah.
And
So,
the
but then
gate
the
would be
gate.
locked when there is no performance on?
Exactly.
And then,
Exactly.
and how, do you have any idea how high it would go?
Through the chair, the fence will be at least 6 feet high. And that's really designed with the intention to make access or climbing over the fence difficult. Anything shorter than that is not going to serve the purpose it's intended for.
I was wondering.
Any further discussion, questions? We don't need a motion with this? Nope, this is just an informative thing, correct? Say again, Dana? Do we need to accept it?
Oh, just to receive it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, just if there's a recommendation from the report.
Okay.
Okay, don't pass.
We're good. Thank you very much. We're relieved to move on. Yay, you. All right. Next, we've got a verbal report. Cultural and Special Events Manager role and voting status, also from Adrian. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. So as many of you know, I sit on the Guild as Manager of Culture and Special Events, which is an ex officio position, but a voting position, and that is as per the terms of reference that was approved by council. Now that we are a few meetings into the Guild, it's feeling to me like this role may serve the Guild better as like a non-voting staff liaison type role. As a voting member, I think when the Guild has requests of staff, it does make sense that, as a manager of culture and events that has supported both the OV Arts Centre and the culture community using it, that it would make sense that I would be able to do that for you. Under the current terms of reference, being both a voting member and a staff person, it is sometimes, I find myself having to look for direction as to which, what is appropriate under the terms of reference. So this is just a note that I will be going to council at some point in the near future, seeking a amendment to the terms of reference that will allow me to stay on the Guild, but in a role that I feel would be more supportive of the Guild. So just wanting to bring that forward at the table, and for any public who may watch the live stream later, that as we evolve with this new Guild, that I think would serve this group best.
Thank you. Any questions of Adrian or comments about that? All right. Once again, that is just information. We don't need to make any motions with that, so we can track on. Thank you very much. Please keep us updated, Adrian. Appreciate the transparency. Okay, so late items then. We had several submissions. Guy, strategies for programming. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'll try to. I'm aware of the time, and I will try to be.
Oh, we're doing good.
Fast. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to start the discussion about programming. Obviously, I think it's important with all the other important issues. I think I see it as important that we get to support and improve programming as soon as possible. So I wanted to start with maybe introducing some principles that I thought would guide us, and then some actual practical steps that I think we can take or initiate. Hopefully this is a discussion that we can continue in other meetings. So in terms of principles for deciding on programming and how to improve and increase it, I think the first principle we all heard today a lot is multi-use. I think the OV is, by its nature, the way it is, it's already like a multi-use space with multiple levels, multiple segregated spaces, and I think we should we should use it to the strength of programming, and really think outside of the box and think very broadly in terms of programming. So the principle number one that I was thinking about. Additionally, I would suggest diversity of programming. Again, in terms of both disciplines of arts and culture, and also in terms of community and groups, diversity I think my third principle would be community participation and community building, events and programmings that support community creation around the center, and so with the goal of it being social hub and cultural hub. And finally, I think another principle I think is borrowing a little bit more from maybe is maximizing use. Is basically, I think right now, I don't know, this is something also I think maybe we should track where we are currently with bookings and with use, and potentially set some goals in the intermediate term and long term, how to maximize the use of space, because I hope we can agree that maybe all of us want to see more events that are more the space used basically as much as possible, like every day of the week, if we can get there. So those four principles I wanted to propose. They can guide us through selection and decisions. And now some other helpful, more practical thoughts that I wanted to propose is, first of all, exposure. Basically, as we heard today, the space is being offered through booking is done through Parks and Rec, and I've gone through that process, and it's working. It's fine, but I think a lot of people don't know that the space exists and the booking is through Parks and Rec, and so I think we need to do promotion or talk about budget or a person or a committee. I'm not exactly sure formally how, but we should promote the space as something that as an asset as of the downtown. This can be done through standard advertising means or social media and other things that we can discuss and propose. The other thing that I think is important is, in line with principles that I mentioned, is reach out to the community and reach out to creators in the community, and almost put like what do you call it? A request for proposal request. Yeah. Request
Call for submissions?
Call for submissions, sure. For events and ideas that the OV will support and potentially subsidize. I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but basically put it out there to the community to get excited, to get back to the guild with ideas, and we can, through staff and through the guild, help realize some of those ideas. As I already mentioned, maybe social media presence that documents and publicizes the events that are currently happening, and we can do some messaging and communicating there. And I think we also should think about subsidized or free programs for youth, things like band rehearsals, other rehearsals for basically creative spaces, creatives in the community that we could potentially subsidize in one matter or another to just get basically people through the door and using the space to do creative pursuits, even if those are not specifically shows, but creative, this being as a working towards it being a hub. So some of those suggestions, some of those principles, and I would love to, if we have time to discuss, add, and then maybe we can put it in a document or action items.
Sure. I see Bill and I see Bonnie. I'll go to Bill first, Bonnie, and then come to you. And then Adrian as well. Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, and thanks very much for all of that. It was just a wonderful introduction to some of the things I think we're all very excited about doing, almost an underlying mission for certainly myself, and I know we were excited when it was brought up before, so it's some really great ideas. I would certainly add, I'd always thought, as soon as I was offered a place on the guild, I went out and solicited from as many people as I could, and what came up again and again was to have some sort of open house invitation and make that as broadly spectrum as possible. And then it had even come up as far further to your great idea about subsidizing. It had been discussed previously with some other stakeholders that perhaps even consider promoting a showcase, the OV and through the guild and through the city, showcasing maybe once a month a different group or individual, or it can be any sort of craft or whatever it is, sort of, and just allow that, and then put that through our social media as well, so to promote it, get an audience for it, and subsidize it however we can do that. So yeah, thank you for that.
Bonnie.
Hi, I have a long history with this theater, and it's many different names over the years. When I first started utilizing it was in 2011. I did a free arts workshop. It was called Her Art. It was for the Nanaimo Women's Center. And we worked with women and girls who'd experienced violence, addiction, and being unhoused that were transitioning back. And we all volunteered our time. I taught the theater portion of it. And then we did a showcase at the OV. Other things that we've done is we did a block party, which was open to the entire neighborhood. I literally walked up the street and went door to door and talked to people and invited them into the space. This is, of course, when I had my school Kismet next door. So we had Kismet and we had the OV, and at that time the film the filmmaker. I can't remember what they were called back then, but they were a part of it. So they were showing films next door while I had musicians and actors performing. We had artists displaying their work. There was people in the street. There was kids doing chalk drawings on the sidewalk. This was about the time that I think the city officially allowed us to call it the theater district. And we put up the theater district sign. I left in 2019 and everything's kind of, obviously COVID affected it. I think Guy, I'm sorry, is that your name, Guy?
Yeah.
I think that's sort of what you're getting at, right? And I'm very, very interested in helping to facilitate that again. I would really love to do a theater workshop that would be offered to the entire island, much like they do with dance. They do these master workshops, and youth and even young adults come. They compete in different categories, like whether it's like a monologue or a scene or a one-act play. And they have adjudicators and they get to take master classes with the adjudicators. And then that broadens their scope, not just in Nanaimo, but like, to the many different communities that lie close to us, like Ladysmith and Duncan, and it also connects the artistic community. And we can do that while having art shows going on. It was a lot of fun. We worked really hard, and the neighbors across the street were very supportive, and we had an open house and refreshments and everything, and people would just come and hang out and talk about art, and people made connections that way, and it happened very organically. But I definitely agree that the space downstairs in the OV is an awesome place to teach classes. I think it needs to be utilized more for that. And, I've been running my own theater school and theater company for, 13 years now. And the social media aspect is really important. That's where everybody hears about everything these days. That and word of mouth, you actually like physically talking to people. But I think having, ongoing programming, like you said, whether that's free events, whether that's events that are, done on a sliding scale for what's affordable, whether that's holding courses or workshops or whatever, that's constantly being promoted through the social media, that those of us that are doing shows there, like I do 2-3 shows a year at the OV, that we're tagging the OV, that the OV is then responding. It would require somebody to sort of be in charge of that social. I don't know if there is somebody in charge of that social media right now or not. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think those things, I think we need to build it back up again, because it was happening for a while there. And then,
Feels like there's a lot of locked doors instead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Bonnie. Just a note, one of my daughters participated in Kismet and great friend of theirs, so thank you.
Which daughter?
Aya.
Oh, Aya. Oh, you're Aya's dad. Oh, I love Aya. Sorry, we're getting to get off topic here.
All right, let's bring it in. Okay, so go ahead, please, Adrian.
Thank you, through the chair. I had put on the agenda website update, and I feel like I could turn it over to Ms. Sign if you wanted to. It relates to Arlene's feelings around wanting to promote the OV more from the last meeting. So there has been some work done by staff in that regard. Also, I was going to say, thank you, Bonnie, for bringing that up. I was going to say that we do, like the OV being allocated by the city, all of our city allocated facilities, we do promote through both the city social media as well as our Parks, Recreation and Culture social media. My team and the broader Parks, Recreation and Culture teams been very active with that, and we can certainly, with the now updated website, we have some information that we can put out there in the community, but if you would like to add about your work.
Be able to bring that, please? So Dana's going to bring that up on screen for us, I think, but this was the result of, actually, before I get into this, I do want to make a note so I don't forget, when it comes to social media, there are pre-existing Facebook pages and Instagram pages for the OV. They are not controlled by us. So that is something to keep in mind that can confuse things, especially if you're searching online. We don't have access to those. So Arlene had contacted me because at the moment, if you search very simply for the OV, you're going to have Google bringing up AI results, and AI collects information from everywhere, some of which is incorrect. So Arlene was sort of pointing out that there was incorrect information coming up in a Google search, and that we wanted a landing page, which seems like a good idea anyways, to exist. I made it very basic so that you have the option of, we wanted to get it live so that you could go in your own time, have a look, and we can always discuss, especially at the next programming meeting, about some of these details as they relate to promotion as well. So you can see at the top, it's a very basic description. If you scroll down for me, Dana, it does link to more about the Guild, which is the page describing the Guild. The facility looks very simple there. There's going to be photos underneath. I just didn't have any photos that the city owned. That's why I was taking photos today. Fees, I did get a document from the allocations clerk. Instead of me listing them, to be honest, there were so many details on that. I was like, I'm linking the actual PDF. So it has all the fees and charges in there. And then to book, it links to what is the event application form, which goes right to the allocations clerk. And then at the bottom there, under contact, we have the booking inquiries, again, the form. We were sort of discussing how exactly that contact should work, because it's not like if they email us in culture that we can necessarily give them answers. So that's the main switchboard, because depending on the question, that would either go to culture or it would go to the allocations clerk. And the only other thought, we do mention the address in the main kind of paragraph. One thing I was thinking as well, I can always add, is on the public art in the inventory, I have embedded maps that show at the bottom where something is. And that might be a good idea at the bottom of this page, but this is for all of you to, have a closer look when you can. And I am able to make changes for us. So that's available now. I think that's about it.
Is there a question on the actual site, fees for storage, for the storage room, and a couple of like the office space and stuff that we saw opened?
Yeah, I was going to just say.
I actually haven't gone into it that depth, but.
So you can see there everything it lists, including like everything on dark days, on tech. All of it seems to be in there. This is what Danielle said that the allocations clerk said she sends out. When anybody makes inquiries, she'll send a screen cap of this exact thing. But now there'll be an available link.
Thanks so much, JB. I just really felt that bringing that forward now made sense with the discussion, and just wanted to add too, with relation to the fees and relation to subsidizing, being a city facility with the fees and charges bylaw set by council, we can't actually provide subsidized rates. We do actually, the previous OV rates were embedded at the time that the previous society was not able to continue, and those rates are slightly different on the lower end of where our fees and charges are. However, and I don't know, Mr. Johnson, if you wanted to speak with this, but what we do have is the ability through our team to do programming, and we regularly do our own programming. So the Guild working with the city to create some kind of regular ongoing programming that might reduce barriers, I think would be doable.
The only thing I can add to that as well is that we do have a planning session on the 2nd, where we're going to be looking at grants. Would that be an appropriate time to look in more detail to many of these? Because it feels like, as I say, an interest in opening the doors on a grander scale than perhaps some of the other city facilities round the clock, making it more community orientated, and that's part of the planning. And then, yeah, okay, Bonnie, I see your hand there.
I just wanted to say this is great. I didn't know this page existed. And if you would like, I have some amazing professional photographs taken of my kids performing on the OV stage recently. And if you would like just a couple of photos for to add to the website or your social media, I would be happy to share those with you.
Through the chair, absolutely.
Great.
I'll make sure whoever gives you my contact information, but yes, especially to see performances, that would be great.
Yeah, I've got some awesome shots, so I'd be happy to send those.
Yeah, Western Edge has some as well. They could provide, as do many people, I'm sure. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah.
Further to that, sorry. Further to that, I have some good photos of when I ran my musical from Brother 12 there, so I'll send you a few of those along too. And I have we filmed it in real time as well, so I have some of that too.
That'd be better than mine, so yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm going to go. Guy?
Quickly about the social media accounts, as mentioned by staff, that they don't have control of them, so who is in control of the social media accounts?
So through the chair, so previous to the city taking on the interim operation of the OV, there was a group that had successfully applied through an RFP process, and they were co-managing the site with the city. So that was the group that had the previous social media accounts. They're no longer in use, but they are still findable in a search, is my understanding, and that was the difficulty that Arlene ran into. So it would be the previous society that now is no longer in existence. So the OV has done a shift from being a co-managed city facility like, the Nanaimo Art Gallery, the Nanaimo Museum, the Port Theatre, and moved into this new format where allocations happen through the city rather than a private not-for-profit, and all those sorts of things. So now we have our city social media, our Parks, Recreation and Culture has a separate social media. We do have a newsletter called Love Arts that goes out regularly. I think many of you are subscribers to that Love Arts newsletter. So we do have our own vehicles, if you will, that we could share and build momentum for the OV. I'm just thinking of the city podcast as another example, but those accounts are not accessible to us. Maybe a name, if we refer differently, refer to the OV Arts Center or the Old Victoria Arts Center, at some point maybe they will stop showing up, but right now they do still show up, and as Arlene pointed out, they do confuse folks.
Okay, so I see Bonnie's hand. I see Guy as well has got finger on the button is what I'm seeing as well. Bonnie first, sure.
Yeah, okay. It's good to know that because I often tag the OV every time I'm doing a show there or rehearsal there. So that's not you guys aren't in control of that on Instagram, hey? That's too bad. Why have they not shut it down? They should shut it down, and you could just use a slightly different name, like with an underscore or something. And then once enough of us start using that, the algorithm will then hit that before it will hit the old one, especially if they're not posting from it. That's the only thing I can suggest on that, but that's good to know. I would love to know then what you would like me to use in tags on social media in order to promote the space.
I'll just answer that through the chair. I would suggest tagging PRC_Nanaimo, or is it Nanaimo?
PRC.
Yeah, PRC_Nanaimo, because that is the one that I actually monitor. So I will actually repost things, but that is the one I suggest. And then to answer your other question, the singular person who created a Facebook account or Instagram account is the only one who can delete it. So it's not even a group. And that is why I still have control over my old job's Instagram. So it's a little tricky. Yeah.
I hear you. Okay. Good to know. Thank you so much.
Guy?
So quickly again, let us know, is there a way to try to reach out and do we want to try to reach out and claim those accounts? If not, my question is, or maybe an action item is to decide what is we mentioned a few things, but what is our social media strategy going forward? Creating new accounts, tagging the existing ones, so maybe
You're looking at me through the chair. We have existing city social media accounts, and we would not create a separate account typically. That may involve just a little bit of research to see where council would like to go with that, or where staff would recommend that would go. I mean, we're kind of in a hybrid situation where we have the facility is allocated through the city as per other city facilities that don't have their own social media accounts. There are other culture organizations that are co-managed that do. I recommend that we make a motion to continue this conversation at the June 2nd meeting, when we'll be discussing these matters around our work plan and moving forward on these things.
Thank you, Adrian. I just want to go to Holly quickly, who is patiently staring at the clock.
This is really hard. It's hard for me because I love the enthusiasm, and I'm a firm believer in more arts, more of the time. I also recognize we're in a regional area and audiences are slim. And so when I think about, and I don't know what to do with this, so I'm sharing it. I feel really vulnerable because I feel like a bit like a damp cloth. Like we can't get our information promoted through the city because we're a nonprofit charity outside of city operations. And I just wonder about that place between becoming a presenter or presenter organization and supporting people who are already doing stuff by making sure the cost is affordable and everybody has access. Like it can be that simple, or we can become a presenting body. And I just start to get a programming body. And I don't know, like I feel I'm putting it out there because I feel the momentum going in kind of that direction. And I'm just like, a little piece of me is dying, frankly, because Crimson Coast is drowning, not waving. Absolutely. So I'll just share that, and that's all. I'm not against what's happening, and I'll support it. Well, I just think it's important for the awareness.
Okay, go ahead.
So through the chair, so addressing what Holly's just mentioned, I'm wondering if there could be some clarity around the guild, because I know we're there to help with the facilities and the operations, but I don't think we're necessarily solely selecting programming. I think there needs to be some clarity around that, because the space is booked through the city, so there is that inclusive nature as well, that people can access that space and book it for what they want to do. So I think in hearing what Holly's saying, I think in reading what the terms of references were for this guild as well, just to add some clarity as to what our role is, because we are, as my understanding is, we are not presenters.
Through the chair, that's exactly correct. That is correct. The guild is focused on the building, and the building is booked through the city of Nanaimo. It's a city space that's booked through our allocations. So. Yeah, I move, though, that we continue, noting the time and that we cannot go past 7 p.m. I move that we continue this conversation at the June 2nd meeting.
Do it. I have a second. Jason, second. All in favor? And And also noting the time, we've got several late items. So that's carried, by the way. Thank you unanimously. We've got several late items that have not been discussed. And as I say, we are fast ticking down to our last minute. Can we have a motion to carry those on to the next? Like, what do we do with the late items?
Through the chair, we can carry those over. The website has already been discussed. I would love to take 30 seconds to talk about the resignation, and I can't remember what else was on the agenda.
So ironically, the agenda was on the agenda, putting the agenda together, and also frequency of meetings that I have put on the back burner. But sure, 30 seconds literally to talk about the resignation. Go.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the Guild know that today a resignation was received by the City of Nanaimo from Jackie Casey. Jackie is unable to continue with the Guild due to a change in her work life that will not make it possible to attend the meetings. So she did say that the OV in the Guild was in good hands, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Will we be filling that spot?
Staff will have conversation that may need to go back to council for the conversation about that to determine what needs to happen.
Thanks. So I'd like to make a quick motion to carry the further late items onto the June 10th meeting. May I have a seconder for that?
Second.
Jason seconds. Those in favour? Unanimously, so it's all carried. And then bang on the dot, then I would like to call a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, those in favour? Hands up and run for the door. Go. Thanks everyone.
It was really nice
Adjourned.
to finally see everyone.
Hey, Bonnie.
Bye.